I'm done hiding it, my sister said, her voice slicing clean through the clatter of plates. Daniel is the man I'm going to marry. The room froze. Forks hovered midair. My mother's laugh died halfway out of her throat. My father turned slowly, confusion tightening his jaw. And Daniel, my ex, stood beside my sister with his hand resting lightly on her back, as if this moment had been rehearsed. I felt the words hit me before I understood them. Mary. Daniel. My sister. You're joking, I said, though my voice came out thin, unfamiliar. This is some kind of sick joke. My sister, Lily, met my eyes without flinching. Why would I joke about my future husband? The word husband echoed in my ears. Daniel wouldn't look at me. His gaze was fixed on the floor, his silence louder than any confession. Lily smiled at the table, practiced and calm. We wanted to tell everyone together. It felt more respectful. Respectful. I almost laughed. This is the man I was with for 4 years, I said, standing so fast my chair scraped against the floor. You sat with me on this same couch while I cried over him. You told me I deserved better. Lily tilted her head. And you do. Just not him. My mother finally spoke. Daniel, is this true? He swallowed. Yes, ma'am. That single word crushed whatever denial I had left. The rest of the evening dissolved into noise, questions, half-hearted congratulations, stunned silence, but I heard none of it. I only saw Lily's hand tighten around Daniel's arm, claiming him openly, boldly, as if he had never been mine at all. I walked out before dessert was served, my heart pounding with a single, unbearable thought. This wasn't sudden. This had been building behind my back, in whispers and glances I hadn't noticed, or hadn't wanted to. So, how long have you been lying to me? I asked, my voice shaking despite my effort to keep it steady. Lily didn't answer right away. She leaned against the kitchen counter, arms folded, eyes calculating. Not guilty, not surprised. Prepared. I never lied, she said finally. I just didn't tell you everything. The difference, apparently, meant everything to her. The morning after the family gathering felt unreal, like I had woken up inside someone else's life. My phone was full of missed calls and messages, concerned relatives, confused friends, but I ignored them all. The only voice I needed to hear was hers. My sister's. The person who had watched my relationship fall apart from the front row. You encouraged me to break up with him, I said. You said he didn't deserve me. And I meant it, she replied calmly. He didn't deserve the version of you that was with him. So, you took him for yourself? She flinched, just slightly. It didn't start like that. That sentence unlocked everything. Suddenly, memories rearranged themselves into something ugly and clear. The nights Lily insisted on staying over after my fights with Daniel. The way she'd take my phone and text him on my behalf. How she always seemed to know when he was upset before I did. How she defended him when I cried, telling me I was too sensitive, too demanding, too much. You were talking to him while we were together, I said. She exhaled slowly. I was helping. Helping who? She didn't answer. I remembered the night I broke down in her car, sobbing that Daniel felt distant, unreachable. She had held my hand and said, maybe he just needs someone who understands him better. At the time, I thought she meant me. I told you everything, I said quietly. My insecurities. My fears. The things I never even told him. And that's why he came to me, she said. He felt safe. The word safe burned. So while I was trying to fix my relationship, I said, you are building one with him. Her eyes hardened. You don't own him.
No, Isabet.
But you are my sister. Silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. For the first time, Lily looked uncomfortable, not ashamed, just annoyed that the truth had finally been spoken aloud. He chose me, she said. That should tell you something. It did. It told me exactly who they both were. I thought of Daniel's face the night he left, how he'd avoided my eyes while saying, I just don't feel the same anymore.
No explanation. No honesty.
Just emptiness. All that time, he had already placed his heart somewhere else, somewhere familiar, somewhere close. You watched me grieve, I said. You watched me fall apart. I didn't expect it to hurt you this much, she replied. That was the moment something inside me broke cleanly in two. I laughed, a sharp, hollow sound. You didn't expect betraying me with my ex to hurt? She looked away. And I understood then, Lily hadn't just taken my ex. She had rewritten the past in her favor, quietly stepping into my place while pretending to help me heal. As I walked out of her apartment, one truth followed me like an echo. This wasn't a mistake. It was a choice, made again and again, every time she smiled at me and asked how I was holding up. Why are you making this so ugly? My mother asked, her voice low but strained. This is still your sister. I stared at her across the dining table, the same table where Lily had announced her future with my past. And I was still her sister when she chose him, I said. Why didn't that matter then? The house was full again, relatives dropping by under the excuse of concern, curiosity disguised as support. I hadn't planned to come, but my father had asked me to. Just talk, he said. We need peace. Peace, apparently, came at my expense. She didn't plan to hurt you, my aunt added carefully. These things just happen. No, I replied, my hands clenched in my lap. They don't just happen. They're done. Across the room, Lily sat beside Daniel, her posture relaxed, fingers intertwined with his like a public declaration. She hadn't spoken to me since our confrontation, but she didn't need to. Her silence was confident. She had already won something. Him, approval, normalcy. My cousin leaned toward me. You can't expect everyone to choose sides. I didn't ask anyone to, I said. But neutrality helps the wrong person. Daniel finally spoke. I never meant to cause this much damage. I laughed before I could stop myself. You caused it the moment you looked at my sister as an option. Lily's head snapped up. That's not fair. Neither was lying to me for months. I shot back. Neither was letting me cry on your shoulder while you were building a future with him. The room went quiet. Too quiet. My mother rubbed her temples. Can we not do this here? Why not? I asked. This is where it started. In front of everyone. My father stood then, his chair scraping loudly. Enough. I looked at him, surprised. He wasn't angry, just tired. Lily, he said, did you talk to Daniel while he was still with your sister? She hesitated. Just a second. That second split the room in half. Yes, she said. But nothing physical happened until after. My mother gasped softly, as if the truth had weight now that it was undeniable. So you emotionally replaced me before I was even gone, I said. And you expect me to smile and accept it? Lily's voice hardened. I expect you to move on. The audacity stole my breath. You don't get to decide my healing timeline, I said. Especially not when you're the wound. Daniel stood up, agitated. Maybe I should leave. No, Lily said quickly. Stay. That word, stay, wasn't meant for him. It was meant for everyone else. A command. A demand that this new reality be accepted. I realized then what hurt the most wasn't losing Daniel. It was losing my place. My role. I was no longer the daughter to protect, the sister to defend. I was the inconvenience, threatening their comfort. My father turned to me. You don't have to forgive her, he said quietly. But don't let this destroy you. I nodded. I won't. I stood, picking up my coat. Lily didn't stop me this time. As I walked out, I heard whispers begin. Justifications forming, stories reshaping themselves. By morning, I knew how it would sound. They fell in love. It was unfortunate. She's just too sensitive. Let them believe it. Because as I stepped into the cold night air, one truth settled firmly in my chest. Family can share your blood and still choose your betrayal. Are you really going to pretend I don't exist? Lily asked, her voice sharp as she stepped in front of me. The music from my cousin's engagement party thumped behind us, laughter spilling out onto the patio like nothing in the world had changed. I had been avoiding this moment all evening, slipping through conversations, keeping my distance, but Lily clearly wasn't done with me. I'm not pretending, I said calmly. I'm choosing not to engage.
She scoffed.
That's not maturity. That's punishment. I met her eyes.
No.
This is what happens when silence stops protecting you. Her expression darkened. You've been talking. I can feel it. People look at me differently now. I almost smiled at that. Almost. I haven't lied about you, I said. If the truth makes people uncomfortable, that's not my responsibility. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. You're turning the family against me. You did that yourself, I replied. I just stopped covering for you. Her jaw tightened. You're acting like I committed a crime. You committed a betrayal, I said. And you're upset it has consequences. For a moment, she looked exactly like she used to when we were younger, defensive, cornered, desperate to regain control. Then she straightened, smoothing her dress, slipping back into composure. You lost him, she said quietly. I didn't steal him. He chose me. I took a slow breath. If he can choose my sister over me, he was never a loss. He was a warning. That landed harder than I expected. Her eyes flickered. You think you're better than me now? She asked. No, I said. I think I'm done competing with you. Inside, someone popped a bottle of champagne. Cheers erupted. Life moved on, uncaring. Lily crossed her arms. You're poisoning everyone with your pain. And you're calling my pain an inconvenience, I replied. That's the difference between us. She laughed bitterly. You always did love being the victim. The word cut, but not deeply enough to stop me. I didn't ask for this story, I said. You wrote it. I'm just refusing to edit myself out of it. She stared at me, searching for something, weakness, maybe. When she didn't find it, her voice softened. You don't know how hard this has been for me. That almost broke my resolve. Almost. Then imagine how hard it was for me, I said. And realize you never once tried. We stood there in silence, the space between us filled with everything unsaid. Finally, she exhaled. What do you want from me? I thought about it. About apologies that come too late. About explanations that only serve the person giving them. I want distance, I said. And honesty, at least with yourself. She shook her head. You're being cruel.
No, irraplia.
I'm being clear. I turned to leave, but she called after me. You think this makes you strong? I paused, looking back one last time.
No.
Surviving it does. As I walked back inside, something shifted. For the first time since that night, I didn't feel like I was chasing closure. I was choosing it. And Lily watched me go, realizing too late that my silence had been her shield. And without it, the truth had teeth. I need to talk to you, Daniel said over the phone, his voice low and unsteady.
Please.
Just 5 minutes. I almost hung up. Almost. Say it, I replied. You already used up your explanations. There was a pause, then a shaky laugh. She's not who you think she is. I closed my eyes. You mean she's not who you thought she was? Silence. That was answer enough. Word traveled fast after that call, not through gossip, but through absence. Lily stopped posting photos. Daniel stopped showing up at family events. The engagement glow she had worn so confidently dimmed into something brittle. People noticed. They always do when the performance slips. A week later, Lily showed up at my door. I didn't know where else to go, she said, eyes red, mascara smudged. No armor this time.
No smile.
I stepped aside and let her in. She paced my living room like a stranger. He keeps bringing you up, she said, comparing me to you, saying things like, you would have understood this, or you wouldn't have reacted that way. I leaned against the counter. You wanted what I had. That includes the comparisons. Her voice cracked. I didn't think it would be like this. I laughed softly. That's because you thought taking my place would give you my life. You forgot the part where I lived it. She sank onto the couch.
He lies.
About little things. About where he's been. And when I question him, he says I'm controlling. Does that sound familiar? I asked. She looked up at me then, really looked. Something shifted in her expression, recognition maybe. Or fear. He told me you were difficult, she whispered. That you never trusted him.
And you believed him, I said.
Because it benefited you. Tears slid down her cheeks. I didn't think he'd do it to me too. I said nothing. Comfort felt dishonest. Days later, Daniel texted again. Can we meet? I need closure. I replied with one sentence. Find it somewhere I'm not. That night, Lily called. He says he still loves you, she said, her voice hollow. That he made a mistake. I exhaled slowly. Then tell him he's late. She was quiet for a long moment. Do you hate me? I considered the question carefully.
No.
I don't trust you. The line went dead. The truth settled in over the next few weeks. Their relationship wasn't collapsing because of me. It was collapsing because it was built on secrecy, justification, and entitlement. You can't build something solid on someone else's ruins. At a family dinner I skipped, Daniel left early. Lily stayed behind, defensive and withdrawn. My mother stopped mentioning weddings. My aunt stopped calling it unfortunate and started calling it complicated, which was family language for we were wrong. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt distant. One evening, my father called. You okay? He asked. Yes, I said and meant it. Because the cracks in their story weren't my responsibility to seal. I had spent too long being the silent one, the understanding one, the one who made things easier for everyone else. Now I was done fixing what I didn't break. And somewhere between unanswered calls and unopened messages, I realized something quietly powerful. They were unraveling. And I was already free. I don't recognize you anymore, my mother said over the phone, not accusing, observing. That makes two of us, I replied. The truth was I had changed. Not in loud, dramatic ways, but in the quiet decisions that no one applauds. I stopped explaining myself. I stopped attending events where my presence was treated like an obligation instead of a choice. I stopped waiting for apologies that were never going to come in the form I deserved. I moved apartments. Not far, just far enough that the walls didn't echo with old memories. I donated the sweater Daniel once loved on me. I deleted conversations I had reread too many times, hoping they would say something different if I looked again. They never did. Therapy was uncomfortable at first. It stripped away my favorite lie, that if I had been better, calmer, less emotional, none of this would have happened. That assumes you had control over other people's morals, my therapist said. You didn't. That sentence stayed with me. Lily tried once to reach out again. A long message. Careful words. Acknowledgement without responsibility. Regret without repair. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, but because I finally understood that closure doesn't require participation from both sides. Sometimes it's a door you close alone. Daniel disappeared completely after that. No calls. No messages.
No dramatic goodbye.
Just absence. And surprisingly, that absence felt like relief. For years, I had confused familiarity with safety. I had stayed in places where I was slowly shrinking because leaving felt harder than enduring. Losing both my sister and my ex forced me to confront a painful truth. I had been negotiating my worth to keep people who benefited from my silence. Without them, the space felt empty at first. Then it felt peaceful. I rebuilt my routines. Morning walks. Evenings without my phone in my hand. Friendships I had neglected because I was always busy fixing something that wasn't mine to fix. One night, a friend asked, "Do you ever miss him?" I thought about it honestly. I miss who I thought he was, I said. Not who he turned out to be. The same was true of Lily. At another family gathering, smaller this time, I felt the shift. People didn't ask me to be the bigger person anymore. They didn't minimize what happened. They watched me differently. With respect. With caution. As if they finally understood that I wasn't fragile. I had just been carrying too much alone. My father hugged me before I left. You seem lighter, he said. I am, I replied. Later that night, scrolling through old photos, I noticed something I hadn't before. In almost every picture from that time, I was smiling but tense. Performing happiness. Holding things together. In recent photos, my smile was quieter.
Real.
I realized then that healing wasn't about proving I was right or watching them fall apart. It was about no longer needing their downfall to justify my pain. They made their choices.
So did I.
And mine, finally, were about protecting my peace, even when it meant disappointing people who were used to my compliance. Especially then. Because choosing myself wasn't an act of revenge. It was an act of survival. I owe you an apology, Lily said, her voice barely above a whisper. Can we talk? We were standing in our parents' driveway, late afternoon light stretching shadows across the concrete. A year had passed since the announcement that shattered everything. A year of silence, distance, and truth settling where denial once lived. I didn't answer immediately. Behind her, the house looked the same. Same porch. Same door. But nothing else was. I'm listening, I said finally. She swallowed. It's over. The engagement. Daniel and I, her voice broke.
He left.
I nodded once. I already knew. Family news has a way of finding its way to you, even when you stop asking for it. I was wrong, she continued quickly, as if afraid I'd walk away. About him. About everything. I thought if I chose him, I'd finally be chosen too. That sentence landed harder than any apology. She looked at me then, really looked at me, the way she hadn't in years. I didn't just take your ex, she said. I took your place. And I told myself I deserved it. I felt no anger.
No triumph.
Just clarity. Yes, I said. You did. Her eyes filled with tears.
I'm sorry.
I believed her. That surprised me. I forgive you, I said. But forgiveness isn't the same as trust. She nodded, as if she had expected that. I don't expect things to go back.